Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stadium Casts. My name is Inadequate. You may also call me Martijn, and here is my co-host.
I'm Amanda, also known as Lundberger here, and I just have to say I'm really excited about the guest that we have. Someone that I don't really know super well, but I think everyone in the community pretty much knows who he is. Would you say, Martin, that maybe he's a household name?
I actually said the same as you in Hartford, and now we're best friends. So that's wonderful. HouseStark, welcome on the podcast. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to not only be able to have an interview with you, but also get to know you as well.
Likewise, my friend. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Alex, also known as HouseStark93, and I'm a streamer on Twitch. I'm also just a battler. I love the game when it works. But at the end of the day, the main thing is I think I'm just a person that likes PvP, and I want to grow the game.
I think that, okay, so you, like we said before, you've obviously already made a name for yourself within the PvP community, but you've sort of also been the person that everyone references now because you used Noctowl in a play tournament before Noctowl even got the wing attack buff. You were actually the OP person who made Noctowl great.
I wouldn't say I made Noxel great. I would say that I found a hole in the meta with the help of a few friends in team building, and it turned out, working out really really well. Um, and I think having a Pokemon that was like normal and flying wasn't really used at the time because Lickitung and Sableye and Medicham were also popular. Having a Pokemon that could beat all three was kind of unheard of at the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's a Pokemon that at the time was quite iffy to use as well, I think, right? Because as we discussed, like it could lose to Medicham at specific shield scenarios, right? And I think that's what made Nocta a little bit underestimated because, like, if you lose some of the matchups you're supposed to win, might be a little bit underwhelming. However, you proved us all wrong, and then it even got better. That's pretty wicked. How Stark? I have another question for you. You like we've mentioned about three times now. You're one of the household names. Um, how did you get this far? When did you start with PvP exactly? You're one of the OGs, as I see you.
Yeah, I got started very early. I would say the first like Boulder Cup for Sylph was when I really got into it. Um, Although I had already done a few practice battles in all three leagues, right? I wasn't sure which league would be the Premier League, but it ended up being Great League, obviously for Sylph. So yeah, that's when I really got into it. I didn't win my first tournament, which I'm always sad to announce. But I went back and practiced, and I learned a few mechanics, and I won my Twilight Cup, which was the next month's cup. And so I was very excited about that. And then from there, how did I become a household name? It's mostly because of King, and I think King is like a really good a person to just he was building the community from the ground up, right? He was going to all these different places. I think he went to South America with like Trainer Tips and Zionic, and they had like a huge tournament that they all were able to showcase as well. Uh, and then from there, King started to travel different places, and one of the places he traveled was Philadelphia, which is where I'm from. And so um, because of that tournament that we had together, King put out a video and basically made me a household name on YouTube. So I all thanks go to him.
Now, I have to ask you this because not everyone has played Sylph from the beginning, but I also did. And you mentioned Boulder Cup. Were you one
Yep.
of the people who used multiple Skarmories, multiple Metachamps, or were you someone who used a unique six from the very beginning?
I used a unique six from the very beginning. I was a purist.
That a
No,
boy, me too.
uh, but yeah, no, I did face someone that ran double Skarmory, and that was my downfall
That's
for
probably
sure.
why you didn't win, right? You said you didn't win the first cup, and then it got equalized because the next round they didn't allow the double typing anymore.
Right, right, exactly. So that's something to look back on.
So this experience you had, how did you apply this when Go Bell League came out. I personally started when Go Bell League came out, and I think I've told you before. When I started myself, I started with a local Telegram group, and people were just talking, "Wow, really nice wins and stuff." And then there was this one guy, Though Tactical, who had like an 80% win rate.
Washed.
Did it? Did it go the same? Did it go the same way for you?
No, I do not have an 80% win rate. No. Yeah, when Go Battle League came around, having those grassroots tournaments in my back pocket, I think was very helpful because it was able to allow me to find Pokemon that I was really good with, and also I kind of knew most of the matchups of the Pokemon that I was battling with, right? So I had Toxicroak. We talked at the Twilight Cup. I was able to use Toxicroak in the Twilight Cup, in the Nightmare Cup, and those multiple different cups in that Sylph grassroots arena where Toxicroak was really good, and then that was one of the Pokemon I used to hit rank 10 before there was a legend rank. So I think that was really, really helpful to be able to utilize those types of Pokemon.
Would you say that when you started out, you were better because you knew like the different typings and like you were saying like the matchups, or did you also from the beginning also have this kind of innate technical skill of knowing like when to throw the moves and anything like that as well?
So I knew nothing about move timing even when GBL first came out. But I did know the typings before PvP even came out. I played a lot of like Pokemon Showdown, which helped a lot for learning typings, as well as I watched a lot of like YouTubers on YouTube just do like playthroughs of random main series games. So I think that helped a lot as well. But once GBL came out, once PvP came out, I started realizing, okay, there's different techniques that you can use in this game versus other games. And I think that helped a lot in my growing process as well.
Okay. Now an entirely different topic we have not talked about. How did you get into Twitch streaming? You're one of the more popular streamers on Twitch as well. I think you've been doing it for a while. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, I think that again comes back to King. I think he popularized, being live on Twitch. He was one of the few people that used to do like YouTube live, streams and things like that. And then once, I don't remember when exactly Twitch became popular Pokemon Go platform, but I didn't start right away. I think I started a few months after people like FP6 and Arrow and things like that. But once I got my groove and I started being more consistent there, I think it's been about a year and a half to 2 years now that I've been streaming 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, at 10 p.m. local time, which is very late for Europeans,
Yeah.
which I apologize for. But I think it's we have a very, very good group of people that like to learn and grow and have a lot of fun.
No, I think that takes a lot of commitment. That was like one of the harder parts of Twitch streaming for me is like I would like to do it if I was to do it at all in the middle of the day. But then of course you don't hit the US market as much. But my nights, it's like, yeah, I'm usually not home that often to be to stream. And plus I'm not at the caliber that you are either. Like, oh, great, you're still the expert. Not right now, but like I don't need to watch these expert battles. I'd rather watch someone who's like consistently killing.
Well, everyone likes a legend push stream, no?
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Maybe I'll go live right before, like when I'm positive that I'll be like just a set away from hitting legend, then I'll do it. Like I'll pull a CCO and just that'll be my like one time every
Yeah, actually,
3
having
months stream.
the set completed and then claim it on stream.
That's even better. Yeah.
And then you get predictions in chat, right?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
what's the elo going to be?
Why is the legend is set? Oh yeah, go on. They'll never bet again. HouseStark, can you tell us a little bit about the Elite Four? How did that start off?
Yeah. So this is back when there were no teams, right? There was no factions. There was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if there was factions in the works or not. But either way, basically Go Stadium, I believe they started Go Team Up, which was different teams from all across the world. They wanted to actually do teams of 3, but the Elite Four started, so I think everyone kind of switched their gears rather quickly. It was myself, it was Valor Ash, Toshi, and Arrow. So the combination of the four of us made up the Elite Four. And I actually became friends with Toshi from meeting him at GoFest in Chicago for Sylph World Championships in season one. We were at the same table of 8 people. Um, and Valor Ash is someone I met through just the Sylph Arena as well. And he met Arrow through there, and that's how we became a team.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, you guys have pretty much been a name for yourselves ever since then. Maybe to spark a little controversy here, who would you rank the Elite Four in a order of PvP skill?
Wow. I think this is controversial, but I
I love
think
this.
I think you could put me and Arrow at the top right now because we're both qualified for Japan while the other two are not, and I think that's definitely a marker. Although I guess we've had more attempts on the road, but um, Valor Ash and Toshi are both, I would say, still doing work behind the scenes. I know, and I just scrimmed with Valor Ash for the Milwaukee regionals, so I'm excited to see that. And then Toshi has been hitting Legend every season in GBL as well. So I don't really know where to rank at like 1 through 4, but I think the hierarchy is definitely Arrow, and I guess you could put me up there as well first.
Has it always been like that?
No, I honestly think in the beginning, Valor Ash was definitely by far the best out of the four of us. He was winning. I mean, he hit number one in the world on the Sylph leaderboards very early, and he did it with Pokemon like Melmetal in Open Great League and stuff like that. So he was always running random stuff. He was running Haunter as well. Like he had the skills. Like he had the skills way before the rest of us. But I think a lot of people were able to, because of his precedent, put more time and effort into learning the mechanics behind the game.
So you kind of brought up that you and Arrow have already qualified for Worlds, but we haven't really seen you really play since then in any of the regional competitions. I know that you had a chance to do a bit of judging. Do you have an opinion on that? Are we going to see you play any more this season before Worlds?
So I'll definitely be in NAIC for the Columbus, I believe, regional. Well, I guess it's not a regional; it's NAIC. It's an international championship. But yeah, I think the judging has been incredibly helpful for my perspective onto what it takes to make these tournaments happen that are just so well produced, right? We have some of the best casters, and now if I can help kind of the things that King used to do, right, and still does to this day, it's just making sure the tournaments are run effectively, right? If there's any
Right.
disputes, they're handled immediately, they're handled well, and then the little things, right? Making sure that the bracket is moving along smoothly and things like that. And I think that's definitely been helpful for my perspective, as well as to help the people that have been to these tournaments to have a great experience and a great time.
I have a controversial one again. Um,
Sure.
there has been some, should I call it uproars or mentions about it, that people don't exactly agree with world qualifiers being judges currently. How do you feel about that?
Um, well, if we didn't have any world's qualifiers be judges, we would have had 3 or 4 fewer judges in Hartford, and I don't know how the tournaments would get done. This is like the main thing, right? I think they would have to reach out and try to find more judges, and more people would have to volunteer. But I think the main thing is the people that are world's qualifiers. I feel like understand the game better than your average Joe, and I think they can help with disputes or little things, or being able to connect with a battler and understand their perspective a little bit better than, again, your average person. Although I do think that there should be more people applying to be judges, right? Because I think that's going to be the most impactful way to help build this community.
So I actually saw that tweet as well, Martine, but I don't understand exactly what would be bad about someone who's already qualified being a judge. Like, what were the takes that were like? Why is this the feeling that someone has?
Um, Yeah,
Like, do they think
I
it's
think
a
people
biasness, or is it like
yeah, I think that's what people mostly are afraid of, right? That or maybe they compare that to another like sports or esports game that like it could be that people uh like be biased, become biased in their decisions indeed. Maybe that's something that people are afraid of. I think there's also a case to be made that people who are qualified and are now judging are not participating and taking your spots. um, so that case could also be made for that. But yeah, it's somewhat of a what Stark says. I 100% agree with as well, because there's not a lot of people that are dedicating themselves completely to judging. The few that I know are King, CCO, and Scrape and Pete. For like that's a couple names that I know. Um, and I think I also saw from Susie in Europe that she would play as well if she would not be picked for being a judge as well, right? Because what if you book your trip, you hope to be picked, but if you don't get picked, what are you going to do,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of a controversial topic, as I started with.
I think it's
Yeah.
also one of those things with Go as well as we have so many less players than VGC and TCG at all these events as well, because just I think the skill cap is completely different. It's not like it's higher or anything, but it does take longer to build up a team in Go than it does like building up a card deck or building up a VGC team. So it's like if we want there to be a really a competitive circuit, we need to allow some of this stuff as well, because we just don't have as many players in the game yet, as it's relatively new to the whole thing.
Right. And I think part of it being new is like the hard part of finding judges, right? People
Mhm.
that know and understand the game, people that can help out with the little things along the way. And I will say to not be controversial, right? Because that's what I like. Um, so some of the Stadium Elite members on my team are competing at these tournaments, and I've made it a. I mean, it's not my decision, but um, I've been told, and I always look out for this. If someone has a dispute, that's someone on my team. I let the other judges handle it, right? The people that aren't on the team, so that it's fair and there's no bias towards who gets to see what's happening, who gets to decide is this worthy of a rematch, right? Because if I'm deciding and Elam's the battler, obviously I'm going to have some bias, but I try to be as fair and as neutral as possible.
Mhm.
I like how, yeah, honestly, Alex, you seem like the nicest guy in the world, and we're like, here's another controversial take.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
um, let's change the topic here, HouseStark. I have another topic that I want to ask you about, which is Project Zygarde. Can you tell us something about that? I saw you take part in this as well.
Yeah. So Project Zygarde is, I would say, it's for everyone, right? And that's part of like the whole Zygarde idea, right? If the Zygarde cells, you have to collect 100 different cells in order to create the complete form of Zygarde, and that's kind of like the way that Project Zygarde is supposed to work, right? We have a lot of different people working together to create one big thing, and that is, in essence, the plan to create something to replace when Sylph goes. So we have the new Discord that's now been opened up to the public. There's also a Twitter account, and the end goal again is to try to take everyone's ideas, work together, and make something that we can all agree on.
I know some people were already making some comments about like, oh, I hope that there's actually going to be Master League tournaments or things like this as well. I mean, theoretically, it's not the replacement of Sylph. Zygarde is going to be a new battle PvP platform that people can play on. Do you know rough like launch dates or anything like that we can look forward to?
I'm actually not in charge of any of that. I don't even have the admin role in the Project Zygarde Discord. But what I will say is, I know that the people that are in charge are very much so willing to listen, willing to help, and in charge of making sure that Project Zygarde gets the work done that we need. And I'm really hopeful that in like the near future, things will happen so that there's a clear plan. Because I feel like that's the main thing is like I don't know the entire clear plan at the moment, but I am hopeful and I'm I'm just excited to see what happens, right? Because I think because of that, the void from Sylph, people are going to want to be able to to play, to practice, to enjoy the game of Pokemon, and I think that's the main goal for everyone.
Speaking of Sylph, like, I guess we do have one more slightly controversial topic that we can bring up.
Here it comes.
Sure.
Your team is one of the participants in the last ever Sylph Worlds for factions. Can you walk us through any of this, how it came to be?
So I don't know the whole rules for how the teams were chosen. I believe we were one of the wild card spots. Um, so I think originally there were only 7 spots for this World Championships from each region, and now there's 8. So originally we had the idea that before the cycle started, we were pretty much locked into one of those spots.
Oh, sorry.
However,
For those who don't know, can you just like talk a little bit about your faction, like what the name of it
sure.
and who's on it and stuff?
Oh, sure. Sorry. We're the Stadium Elite faction. We're from North America in the Emerald tier. It consists of, myself, Arrow, Jengles. We have so many people. Rise to Occasion, Pranav, Elam, it's Axon. Like we have a lot. I didn't even mention like Magic Mason. Like a lot of household names if you are paying attention to the play Pokemon circuit. So yeah, I think we had done relatively well the past like 3 cycles, and this cycle we didn't do as well. And as the cycle was concluding, I believe with 2 or 3 weeks to go, someone on Twitter, I think it was MJ Get It, was saying that the Stadium Elite needs to win, the last matchup, the last bout, over Elite TMs to qualify, and then whoever doesn't win is out of the World Championships, and then Muddy Water will be guaranteed a spot or something along those lines. Um, and because of that, we lost the final bout against the Elite TMs. They did a great job, by the way, preparing and reading lines and everything. And so we had concluded the overall vibe was that we were out of the World Championships, and then we get a notification. I don't remember when, that there were going to be 8 teams participating, and both Stadium Elite and Muddy Water had qualified, as well as 6 other teams. And I think that's probably the fairest thing that Sylph could have done, because of the miscommunication, because of the fact that not everything was clarified perfectly. Giving everyone an opportunity to win and compete, I think, is the most genius idea that they could have come up with.
And I have to ask, because Martijn is also going to be playing in this whole Worlds tournament. How do you think you guys are going to fare? I put a poll out on Twitter recently of which region does everyone think is going to win the overall. And I have to say, Europe is winning in both my poll and Caleb Ping's copy poll. So do you have any opinions?
I don't know. The E-Umpers, I think they're good, right? They're very good. But are they overrated is the real question.
That is a really good question. Maybe that'll be my next Twitter poll.
Interesting developments here.
No. We love our friends from Europe. I think there's a lot of really good teams out there. I don't know who's going to win. I just know that every team's going to give it their best shot. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
How do you feel about teams being able to add someone to their roster now who has not played for the team before?
So it's kind of like a rental, wild card spot. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's kind of in between for me. I think that a team has, synergy, and I think that keeping that synergy and keeping that what's the word? Not consistency, but the team just cohesiveness, working together, I think is a
Hmm.
huge factor, right? Because you get to know who likes battling with what Pokemon, what kind of things people like to hear when they're doing well, what types of things people like to hear when they're doing poorly, and things like that. And those are things that I don't think a new player can really add onto a team. However, if you add someone like a so technical to your team, it doesn't really matter, they could just go out there and win. So it really depends on the person that people are adding, but I think it adds like a new layer of excitement and fun.
Has it been announced? Are you guys adding someone, or are you kind of keeping it close to the vest?
As far as I know, we're not adding anyone. I think our team is pretty well set up to do well. We do have a secret weapon,
Ooh.
Pranav, who has been sitting on the bench because of he's been studying for his MCATs. So now I believe we're going to add him to the roster and see how that goes.
You
Excellent.
know, I actually asked Pranav to join us as well, but "Oh my God, Stark just asked me as well." I said, "Well, okay, well, then I'm not gonna steal you, I guess."
So,
We love
yeah,
Pranav.
Martin,
It's true.
are you adding anyone to the Emperors?
Oh, good
Not
question.
really adding. We will be replacing someone. Uh, I can say that this episode comes out later anyway. We will be replacing our one of our French players, CCO, with one of our Germans, the Nut 93, Felix.
Oh,
Ooh, waking up from the nap just in time for Worlds.
Yeah, one dormant beast wasn't awakening, so we took the other one. Well, the thing is, CCO is we appreciate his efforts a lot, right? That he especially the bout before the cycle before this, because a lot of our players were a bit demotivated, and that's where Charles' help and flexibility really helped us a lot. But right now, we're going to need someone who is motivated to not only help, but also help with team building and scrims. And I think, even though the Nuts said he would preferably be on the bench, his input is always valued, and he's always giving good feedback on most of it. He's more invested in Pokemon Go than CCO is currently.
I think
So
Felix is
basically,
like
that
the best team builder that I know of. If you were just to say someone like to build a
Mhm.
team that anyone could probably work with, I think that the Nut is probably the best choice out of anyone.
He is, yeah. One of our members actually even qualified for Worlds with one of his teams and beat him as well with it. So yeah, I do agree with that.
yeah, I'm actually a huge fan of him. That I've known him for a few years now, and he helped me with putting Noctowl on my team for Baltimore.
Have you
So
ever met him in real life?
I've never met him. I've never met him, but I already love him.
Is it
So
because your screen names are so similar?
yes, we're both 93s. I think we're actually the same age, so that helps a lot.
Would you go to like a European play Pokemon tournament sometime?
I definitely would. I definitely would. I think it's worth the trip, not just for to play Pokemon, meeting everyone,
Hmm.
having a great time, but also for a nice vacation. There are so many places in Europe
Like
that are
Netherlands, yeah,
that are so beautiful.
it's true.
Um,
No,
my family's from
he said
my
beautiful,
family's
Martin.
from no, but half of my family's from Europe. My whole dad's side of the family. So I've been to Greece many times,
Hmm.
visiting family. But I've also traveled through. Um, I took a train from Germany all the way to Greece. So I've
Okay.
traveled all through that entire sector.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That
Yeah,
counts. How do you see the development of play Pokemon into the next season?
yeah. I love the question. I think the development is just comes with growth, right? So the more the play Pokemon circuit grows for Pokemon Go, the more that we can do. And I think right now we've had a bunch of side events at the tournaments that we've been at to promote things like Ultra League and Master League because the Play Pokemon circuit has strictly been Great League, and I think maybe one day it could be expanded to Ultra and Master League, and I think that would be kind of exciting. Um, there could be also be limited metas as well, right? So let's say people are sick of Noctowl, Lantern, and Trevenant. What if through those three Pokemon were banned? What if the top 12 Pokemon were banned from play Pokemon tournaments, stuff like that. And I think that could open up the door for different types of Pokemon to shine and add a new wrinkle into the meta.
Do you, like yourself as a player, are you one of that kind of likes this more open meta and you feel comfortable with it, or are you hoping that the meta, really shakes up before Worlds to give you something completely new and set players on a completely different level?
That's a fantastic question because I have actually I've learned the ins and outs of the meta, but I would definitely be down for a change. One of the main reasons, and I think a lot of people will agree, is that the meta at this point has become a lot of like rock paper scissors, right? And if you win the lead, you have a good chance of winning the game. And I would like to see a more dynamic meta where there's more gameplay, right? Instead of Trevenant and Noctowl and Lantern that try like that trio that hard counters each other, I would like to see a more fluid battle style, kind of like, Lickitung into Medicham, or Noctowl into Medicham, or just or maybe a new Pokemon added, right? Something like Toxapex, right? Or Obstagoon, or like just I would love to see a new Pokemon kind of shine through, or maybe a new meta shift come through. Um, I know Mystical Fire has been added to Delphox recently at the most recent Community Day. What if they added Mystical Fire to more Pokemon and added just fire type coverage into the meta? Then people couldn't run, Trevenant, Registeel, and Galarian Stunfisk or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so basically introduce like core breakers. I think many other competitive games like actually even like completely turn over the meta. I think that's something that could be interesting here as well, but it really depends on what period of time, right? Because if you do it every 3 months, it's going to take a lot of work to do so. I think. So I think for now probably like tackling the most overused Pokemon will probably the best way. Do you have any predictions that we might see for moveset updates?
I think honestly, I think the best thing is to add more electric and fire into the meta, and I think that's the hardest combination to add. I have seen somewhere where everyone's like, oh well, what if you just buff the punches, right? Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch. Well, then you add Medicham being a little bit too strong. So there's a fine line between what you can buff and what you can't, and I think just adding more electric type either charge moves or fast attacks,
Hmm.
and um, maybe updating some of the moves to make more moves viable, I think would be very helpful.
Okay. Well, by the time this episode will air, we will see if you're actually right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm excited. It's really coming up pretty soon. One other, I know that you're a Twitch streamer, and obviously you have to play some games for content. But if you had it completely your way, would you race to be the first legend in GBL, or would you be like, oh, I really want to try these like spicy different lines, and it might take me a little bit longer, but I want to do this?
That's a great question. Well, I've already been there, done that when it comes to getting to legend first. No, um, um, I don't know. I like the idea of being competitive, and I love that. But I also do like running weird stuff. So it's kind of the best of both worlds would be to run Spice and still get to legend first. But I feel like that's a cop out answer. I love running Spice, so let's say that.
Well,
that makes two of us.
since the new season will start soon, let's say if people are going to face you level one, what are you running to begin with?
Whatever gets a move update, I'll definitely run.
Okay.
Rank 1, 100%, 100%.
So people know when they see your name, they're like, okay, I got to prepare for X.
Taking notes.
I'll face both of you in GBL day 1. So
Yeah,
we'll
hopefully,
find
yeah.
out
I'm just going to
which
keep
other are
exiting
running.
out till I find him. We're like, all right, hard counter city.
It sounds perfect.
Hey, on the topic of played Pokemon, why do you think? I think currently the growth is more in Europe than North America, right? Why do you think that, or what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think that is?
So Europe is definitely has more countries, right, than North America. I can agree with that. But I do think that the train system in Europe allows people to traverse more easily and more cost effectively than it might be in America, right?
That's true.
It feels like you need to be able to fly out to different places. You're not going to be able to get to from Portland to Milwaukee to Hartford from a train. Well, I mean, maybe you could, but it would take a very long time and it would probably be very, very expensive. Uh, Whereas, if you're flying out to different places, you can get to all of them. But I do think in terms of the player base, um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Hartford was the biggest North American regional so far in North America, so I do think the growth is there. It may not be a linear progression, but it definitely, if you look at it over time, uh, the progression has been on the rise for at least for North America. I do know that there was a competition, a regional in Europe that was sold out recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
So
256.
that's a good benchmark, and I think I would push all the North American people to try to cap out NAIC because I think that's going to be the biggest tournament so far, tied with for 256. And I think that's going to be awesome to see.
Yeah, I hope you guys make it. I think last time we checked, it was right around 200. So just need about 50 more people to get to that final stage.
Yeah.
How do you think we can get more people in play Pokemon?
I think increasing the cap would be a good start, right? Because then the higher the goal, the more people feel like they can participate. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I think having more promotion for play Pokemon tournaments could work. I think meta changes, people getting excited about the meta changes could definitely help, as well as I do think just having overall more presence on social media could probably help as well, or on YouTube channels or Twitch channels, people talking about it, people reacting to uh, plays that are happening live could help. People going back and recapping their tournaments could help. I think all these things along the way will help the end goal of getting play Pokemon tournaments to be the biggest feature of Pokemon Go, and I think it's on the way there. I think it is the future of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear you say that because I'm hoping the same. I think it's one of the things that's really revitalized the PvP players, which I think that's like the main reason. Like a lot of the people that we know are still playing the game, right? Like no one's as there are shiny hunters and there are other things as well, but I think the people who are that we're all friends with, we really like to play PvP. And I know that we're also this weird small subsection of Pokemon Go, but something like the Play Pokemon tournaments is helping keep this alive and also helping like fuel that growth in some other players as well.
I do agree with that. I'm also a big fan, right, of play Pokemon. I occasionally or weekly host Open Grade League practice tournaments to promote it as well. Stark, I have one more question for you that we usually ask here on the Stadium Cast. Who would you consider to be a crap roller? Someone who is not really well known, but is on a top tier level? And who would you consider to be a Met champion? Someone who already has a name, already made a name for himself. You can't pick yourself, and is also really good, like a chance at winning Worlds even.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, um, I think in terms of the crab brawler, right? This is someone that people don't really know very well, but is incredibly good at the game. I honestly think it's tough. Um, I like okay, so someone that a lot of people don't know is Frankie. Frankie is on Stadium Elite Silver. He got, I believe, top 8 at Orlando. And he's been absolutely on fire. I think he just got into Show 6 Play 3 about 6 months ago, I want to say. And he's already been proving his worth in factions. He went um, think he went 7-1 last cycle.
Dang.
He lost the bout one and then won the rest of his bouts. Like he's just been on fire, and I think he's learning and growing at a rate that most people wouldn't. So I'm very excited to see his potential future, not just in play Pokemon tournaments, but also in any Show 6 Play 3 format. I think he is someone to keep an eye out on. In terms of him a champion, I always am consistent in saying that Hoff, I think N Hoff is one of the best play Pokemon battlers, and I have a good feeling that she's going to be doing really, really well at Worlds. She loves bringing the most spicy picks, right? She brought a Guzzlord and a Moltres to a regional.
Onion Frank told me about
Yeah.
it.
And she beat Onion Frank with it. Like
Yeah.
she will always have the spiciest Pokemon and do well. I remember she brought a team of 6 legendaries into a tournament before. This is like back in grassroots formats, but she's always trying to find the weirdest Pokemon and make them work. And I think that's something that you can't teach. That's something that a lot of people won't expect, and I think that will help her in future tournaments. She also has a little bit of a spicy pick that she's looking to bring to Milwaukee as well. So
Ooh.
I'm excited to see
I
how
know
that
about
goes.
it. Is it a grass Pokemon?
It is a grass Pokemon.
I
yes.
know which one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that should be very exciting.
I just have to say this real quick because everyone knows it by this point. We recorded one of these episodes with Enhoff earlier, but I forgot to record any of the audio. So we did this whole really nice thing. And at the time as well, she named you as her champion. So I thought that was really cute that you guys. I hate to break it to you. She did change it for the official episode, but I feel it's proper to shout it out that she did at one point name you as
Oh
her
no.
champion as well.
It's the thought that counts, right?
They arranged it like this, Amanda. They arranged it like
Yeah,
this.
maybe. Yeah, she just went back. He had no idea that she just completely changed it.
No, I had no idea. That's awesome though. Yeah, I know. Everyone loves Hoff. I feel like she's just like a really good person to represent our community, and just like a very from the heart. I think she's one of the best battlers in the world and one of the best people in the Pokemon Go community. So
I think if you were holding up a mirror, you could say that as well. Like honestly, you even proving it today, you're being very nice when we're like really trying to knife you a little bit to get you give controversial takes. You're like, no, everyone's good. But yeah, no,
everyone's good except for Martine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the takeaway that we need to have. No, thank you.
What did I do?
No. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Thank you so much, HouseStark, for joining the podcast today, for giving us a second chance, actually, because we did do a recording in Hartford previously, but unfortunately one of our audio settings was wrong. So, but we had a good one here as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, and to both you and Amanda and everyone listening. Thank you so much for allowing me to give get this chance to talk to you, and hope you guys learn some stuff.
We appreciate you, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.